All right, so I wanted to talk about something really quick tonight. There are basically the two basic approaches to learning tarot and why both of them are good. All right, and I wanted to do this with some examples. Say hi to Mr. B. All right, so I pulled this off of off of Reddit of all places. You'll often see this happen on the internet where someone will say, "Oh, I need some help. These are the cards that I drew. What do I get?" And those people feed into what I consider the flashcard style of tarot reading, where basically you don't have to have cards at all. You just have to have the flashcards, right? You don't need the images in front of you. And these were the cards that they said that they had. I pulled, these are from the Hanson Roberts deck. It is the closest deck I have to a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, so I'm trying to be as traditional as possible. So if I take a look at this, I'll just move this to the side for right now. If I take a look at this and I read it flashcard style, I would say the Emperor. This is a major arcana card. It is the number 4, which is a stable card. This card tends to mean authoritarian, authority, dominion, a father figure. And then I would say the 8 of Rods. The 8 of Rods seems to me a lot of stuff happening, acceleration of action. And then I would say the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is often seen as a cold, childless woman who is very focused on her ambition. All of these are accurate. All of these are true. And these are, common keywords that you will find in the flashcard method. A lot of times a little white book will only give you these kinds of keywords. When it comes to, this was a love reading, we can sit there and say, okay, well, I need to put these together. How do I put these together? And I'm going to say flashcard method wise, there's a father figure, possibly daddy issues. There's a lot of sex, but no love. And you're going to notice that we don't have any cups. So I can look at my flashcard reading and say no cups. And then the Queen of Swords, not traditionally seen as a lovable person. So she is very cold. She is very isolated. I'm not dissing the Queen of Swords. She's my significator. There's a special place in my heart for the Queen of Swords, but she's not seen as a lover, as an affectionate woman. She's not generally seen as the love interest. So I can get that as a flashcard reading. You're asking me about love, and I'm going to say, well, we've got some sex, but no love, and the two people seem incompatible. That is a great flashcard reading. Now, the other style of reading we can do is more intuitive, where I would look at each card, and you have to have cards. You have to have images to do this. Like, you could ask me 6 of Swords, and I could say, like, okay, here's what's happening. You're taking your problems to another location, right? I can do the keyword thing without having a card in front of me. The other version, the intuitive version, is we look at these cards and we start making connections and we start seeing what we notice in the cards. So, for example, I might notice that she has one hand full with her sword, but her other hand is empty and she's reaching out. Like she wants something. So she might be cold, but she wants something. This dude, though, I might notice doing an intuitive reading. What am I seeing in the card? He's got both of his hands full. You can't, and he doesn't look like he's going to give up anything. He doesn't look like he's reaching out to offer her anything. So this is a guy who has plenty to give. He just doesn't want to give it. Right? I might also notice that the Queen of Swords is wearing this metal helmet and say, well, this is not someone who is going to be losing any argument. She's very stubborn, very strong-willed, very strong-headed. And I'm going to say this guy with his crown of laurels, he's not used to losing. He likes to win. So I think arguments between these two could get really, really, really mean, really vicious. They're both needing to win. And then I could look at this and say, there's a lot of business. There's a lot of monkey business. There's a lot of sexy time business happening. Because these rods are blooming, I would ask the person if they were taking precautions against pregnancy. Because we got this whole fertile valley going on here. It's sunrise. You know what I mean? My intuition is saying, maybe that's an issue, right? Maybe that's something they need to be concerned about. So I can do that, which is looking at what I see. And this kind of relies on you actually being able to look at each card almost with that beginner's mind, that beginner eye of what am I actually looking at? And this can change from time to time. This time I noticed what the Emperor had in his hands. There are other times when I've noticed this, the little doodad around his neck. He's wearing blue, right? This is blue, the color of the throat chakra. Sorry about banging the camera. He's wearing the color of the throat chakra, which you think would be about communication, right? But his is all locked up in this gold stuff. So I'd say this is a guy who has problems communicating, if that's what I notice in the card. If I notice this card, maybe I notice this furry sort of cape that she's wearing. And I'd be asking myself, well, is she always cold? Is she trying to warm up? You know, is that what she's looking for in a relationship? Is she's trying to be able to express her warmth? So again, the intuition is basically not what, you know, closing your eyes and mediumship. I'm not dissing mediumship. I'm saying they're entirely different skills. What we can do when we do an intuitive reading is really look at the cards. And I can even start noticing things between the cards. Like he's not looking at her. She's looking over here. She's looking into the future. She's got her back towards him. She's already checked out. He is more concerned with what you, the person looking at the card, thinks of him. You're never going to find that stuff in any of your little white books. You can only find that by practice and practicing being able to look at each card like a beginner. I have another example for you. This is, we did a little tarot activity with one of my little tarot groups tonight. And this is the card. We each did a 1-card draw. This is the card that I drew. And I pulled underneath it, in case you wonder what's going on, is the Hanson Roberts version, which is the more traditional version of the same card, the High Priestess, number 2 in the Major Arcana. And we can see this is the traditional one where we have the 2 columns they're supposed to evoke the the Temple of Solomon, and she's sort of blocking the door with this tapestry behind her and these pomegranates, and she's looking at you. I kind of noticed, one thing I noticed is their facial expressions are really similar, but she's looking at you and she's holding the scroll, so you can see it but you can't have it, right? So this is a traditional High Priestess card, and this is basically the card that means inner wisdom, inner knowledge, wisdom that you get from yourself and wisdom that you use in your own life. It's not wisdom how to succeed in business. This is the inner wisdom of how to live a good life. And this also has the idea of a sort of feminine energy, a more yin energy to it. All right. So you're going to notice that this card looks a lot different. I mean, I think they have the same facial expression. That just cracks me up. But we don't have the columns, the black and white columns representing duality, representing a balance of opposites. We don't have that here. We have all of these crystals, which I look at and say, purple crystals, well, that's crown chakra, right? And we do have this woman who is looking at us expectantly. This cat is looking at us going, so what are you doing? And again, so I can look at this card. When I drew this card tonight, I can look at this and say, okay, the flashcard version of the High Priestess is supposed to be inner knowing, intuition, clairvoyance, secrets, mysteries, the balances of duality. I can do that. And if I just read the card that way, that would be great. But when I look at this card, this artist and this card deck creator gave me these big amethysts. We're in a cave. We're not in a temple. We're in a cave full of amethysts, which again is the crown chakra. So this is a sort of go sit in your crown chakra cave for a little bit. And when I did the reading, what really struck me was these 2 little exits to the cave. You see, this one is broad and it looks really easy, but then we have this big mountain. And then this one looks a little rougher at the start, but there's no mountain once you get out. Both of those entrances, both of those exits from this cave end up in the same spot. You're outside in this field of stars. But this looks to me, when I was giving the reading today, I looked at this and I was like, this is a choice. You have a choice of, do I want it to be hard at the beginning? Do I want to sort of bite the bullet and jump in? Or do I want to go the slow and easy route? Whichever route I go, I'm going there. I can't sit in my cave forever. I've got to go there. I have to decide whether I want to rip the Band-Aid off and start doing the hard work now, or if I want to sort of let it build. And I did also point out there is a little bit of greenery here. This is not this barren wasteland you're going to be trudging across. So when I looked at this card, I was like really fixated on this. I was really fixated this time on these two exits. I have looked at this card and been fascinated by the fact that she's not black or white, that balance of duality, that she is a gray cat. I have sort of been caught on the idea of how spiky that the journey to wisdom often feels like, if you walk in the wrong direction, ouch, ouch, ouch. Like imagine you're walking around this cave in the dark, you get poked a lot, right? Both of these skills, the traditional flashcard read and the intuitive read, are really valuable as a tarot reader. And to be a truly versatile tarot reader, you should be able to have both of them. Eventually, you should be able to have both of them. You should be able to have, here's the traditional knowledge. In my mind, that pays respect to our ancestors, if you will, who put all this thought into embedding all of this, meaning into these cards and these titles and the numerology and the astrology and all that stuff, that you honor and respect that by knowing that at some level. But it also pays honor and respect to the creators when you look at how they change the image of the card, because this isn't even the most traditional high priestess. Normally the high priestess is wearing a necklace with the phases of the moon. How do I know that? Because I used to be a flashcard only reader and an intuitive reader where I just looked at the cards and went nuts. But when we buy our decks, and right in front of me, I could pull, I have the Way of the Panda Tarot. What else do I have within easy reach? I have the Cullinane's Grimalkin Tarot. I have Paulina deck. I have the Halloween deck, right? All of these different decks, when the creator thinks about how they are going to create their version, their vision for the card, they are giving you their own spin, their own meaning. So this is not wrong because it doesn't follow this exactly. This is Lunea Weatherstone's vision for this card. So as an intuitive approach, you would look at that and say, this is what I'm taking from this, and this is what I notice. This is what I'm taking from this. This is what I notice. There's nothing wrong with flashcard readers. There is that limit where they do kind of sometimes struggle with how to connect the cards in sequence. It's not impossible to get over. It's just like, creating a sentence. You just have to find the right syntax for it. But there's nothing wrong with that flashcard approach, and there's nothing wrong with the intuitive approach. In my mind, though, it's like both of them together are stronger. So you, I think, are a stronger reader if you have both of them in your arsenal. So my recommendation is to try a little bit of both. Pull out one of your decks and really sit there and say, okay, in this context, what am I noticing? Am I noticing the little caves? Am I noticing, why does that have a moon there? What phase do I think that moon is? What is this? What is it? Is this cat? Is she judging me? What's going on here? Really start opening your mind to that. If you want to increase your sort of intuitive read, or if you are pretty good with that, really think about cracking open a couple of books and studying the, the symbolism and the depth behind all of these. And of course, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but you can't really do much. So encyclopedic is Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wen. It is a bit of a brick, but it is a good book. You can find easier books that have the tarot meanings in them. I have to find one. I have one that literally lists each card and lists I think a dozen different readers' interpretations of it. I'll have to find it and show it to you guys. But that's great for a flashcard read. And sometimes it's really good to read those things to get that idea of how broad the meaning could be. In short, in sum, two ways: the flashcard approach, where you memorize keywords, which is great because somebody could come up to you on the street and say, Four of Cups, and you're going to be able to say, someone is too fixated on what they're, on something and they're not seeing a gift. Or you can sit there and say, okay, how does this deck do the Four of Cups? What do I notice in that? Does that deck even have that imagery? What are they giving me? Both of these are really valuable skills. All right, enough yip yap. I will talk to you guys later. I hope this was kind of useful, and I hope you consider, looking at your cards in a whole new way and really thinking about how you personally combine those two different skill sets. Right, bye.